Send me an angel. Send me an angel. Right now. Right now.
Well, welcome everyone. We're delighted to have David Sterry from Real Life with us today on our Passion 80s podcasts and whatever other media we've got available to us. David, thank you and welcome.
Hi, thank you, and thank you for having me on the show. Yeah,
Appreciate it. I can see you've got a lovely garden there, David. Tell us a little bit about your garden, mate. Tell us, you're a green finger or...
I keep going to Bunnings and asking them for plants that I cannot possibly kill. Yeah, it is nice. It's just a little courtyard, actually.
Well, I'm the same. I don't have any plants.
So David, now that you mentioned Bunnings, I have to ask you this. Sorry,
Lovely.
I've probably been asked it 100 times. So you go down Bunnings and you go into the plant section. You ask for some assistance, and Send Me an Angel comes on. That comes on the radio in the background. Does the person serving you have a what the moment?
It hasn't happened in the garden at Bunnings because I have an old friend that works in there, and she's always advising me on how not to kill the plant that I'm buying. But the other day it happened. I was actually away. I was in Bailey Beach, and I was staying in a hotel that had a big bar, and they had loads of cover bands, and they had videos and stuff on as well. And I'm kind of walking through, the main area, and there's just lots of people talking. But I'm going, what the hell is that in the background? What's that? And of course, it was Send Me an Angel. So I'm, jeez, follows me everywhere.
No, I did there when you raised the going into Bunnings. Yeah, they always play a lot of iconic music or a lot, iconic hits. So for sure, at some point or another, Send Me an Angel gets played. So I wondered if that had happened to you.
I learnt a lesson, actually. I mean, I love hearing it, and I am quite proud. I'll often go and stand under the speaker in a supermarket for the guitar solo or something. But I made a big mistake in the North Melbourne IGA once years ago because it was on the house system. There weren't many people around, but I noticed that a lot of the people packing the shelves were quietly singing along. I was very happy with that. And I got to the checkout, and the girl was kind of, grooving along. And I stupidly said, "Hey, that's me singing that song." And she looked like I'm an old
Stupidly.
It's like, ugh. So never again will I ever tell anyone, "Hey, that's me."
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. Is
Must
that
be a good
song?
feeling though, David, isn't it?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I really do. One of my best stories, when someone asks, so that's on the same vein of the question, someone says, "What was it like when you first heard your song on the radio?" Well, it was on 3XY first back in the day. And I had this really beaten up old Holden station wagon that was held together by bits of chewing gum all over the outside of it. And I remember pulling up these lights from there with it was a beautiful summer day, and beside me at this stoplight pulls up this girl in a beautiful red sports car. Beautiful girl, beautiful red sports car. And guess what comes on the radio? But da-da-da-da. And I'm looking over and I'm kind of quietly looking at her and, trying to sing along. And she looked at me with horror and just took off when the light turned green. So, yeah.
It's got to be probably one of the most played and well-known Australian pop electronic songs world over. I'm struggling to think if there's one that's more recognisable. I mean, obviously INXS had a lot of hits.
Yeah, but not in the genre. So the new wave thing was definitely ours for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, different genre. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be Australia's biggest new wave hit, well known, and both in Europe and in the US. So.
Yeah. Don't know how I did that.
You'd be pleased to know, hey Dave, I did it just for you. I don't know if you can see on both my shoulders. I've got both your singles.
Oh, I think
Can you see them or not?
Yeah, they're faint. I haven't got my glasses on. Yeah, see it. Yeah,
That's all right. They're a bit far, mate, but I've got them out just for you.
Thank
I thought I'd bring them both out today. I thought, iconic. So I play them a fair bit. So as you can see, I've got a bit of equipment behind me, and I get behind and have a bit of fun and, hey, play this electronic stuff that I love, and that's what this station's all about, bringing back,
Well, you should
hopefully
see
bringing back a little bit of the 80s stuff
where
that
I'm
I
sitting
love.
at the where I'm sitting at the moment. I'll just turn this around and see if I can show you something. I'm downstairs. I can't have anyone around.
Oh, I
for
know.
dinner.
You're going to
My dining table is full of electronics. I can just do that. Can you see that?
Oh wow.
That's a
I thought I was a
modular.
junkie. Yeah.
That's a modular
You're bad.
system. I'm addicted. It's bottomless pit. It's worse than Bunnings. Sorry, I'm just moving my computer on all these leads here. But yeah, that's just downstairs. Upstairs, I've got my kind of proper old-fashioned recording studio with all my guitars and synthesizers. But I'm sort of addicted to this thing down here. You patch all these things in here, and it makes all sorts of different noises and hours of entertainment.
Yeah. So, David, I was going to.
Do you do any new songs using that old stuff?
There was an album 2 years ago called Sirens. Have you heard of that one?
That's what I was going to ask you about.
Yeah.
So that was the last.
That was one of our questions. Yeah.
And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So that was going to be my question. So did you do that by yourself independently? Is that like a local independent thing release?
Yeah. Yep. I wrote it all here and recorded it upstairs and recorded it all myself. Then got it mixed and mastered in England, in a studio in England. Where you kind of upload things. You can upload something to Abbey Road if you think you've got a good enough song, and they'll mix it for you there and master it. So yeah, I recorded it all, and it was good because it was the first time that I had to make all the decisions on my own, and I had to write everything myself. There was no co-writers involved, and all the decisions about the sounds and the music and the style of stuff was all down to me. And at the end of the day, I absolutely love it. I bought it out. I bought some vinyl out, some CDs out, and it's up on the electronic platforms. So it's a record I'm absolutely very proud of. But these days, it's kind of a pointless pursuit going through something like that, because the doors are closed with radio, and pop music is always about the generation that's there at the moment. It's all got to be there, pop stars on the charts, and I understand that. But you're still kind of you don't want to be locked completely into an era. Everyone you start a journey to learn to write and to learn to perform and to learn this, and you didn't stop doing that just because the 80s stopped. You kind of go on and you learn new things. The technology has changed. The market has changed, that you can, it's far easier to make a record independently and get some great production on it. So yeah, it was a case of just me trying to prove that I wasn't dead yet.
Well, I was going to ask the album that preceded that, which was Send Me an Angel 80s Synth Essentials. That was in 2009. So there's quite a gap between that and Sirens. So your decision to record another album was like, hey, I got was it a test for yourself? Was it to see have I got it here?
Yeah, pretty much. I wanted to make something. It was you get to the point where there's no use trying to please anyone. Radio's not going to play it. People who are stuck in the 80s aren't going to necessarily like it, even though it's a natural step in the new wave direction from where we were in the 80s. Out of the blue, in 2000, whatever it was that you mentioned before, there's a record company in America called Cleopatra Records. And out of the blue, the guy sort of sends me an email and says, David, how about you make an album of your favorite, new wave songs and re-record Send Me an Angel for us? And my heart went, yeah, that'd be fun. But my head went, I don't know how to do that. I don't have any experience with digital software, recording an album on Logic or Pro Tools in your computer. I had no idea, but I said yes anyway. And then I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I got a new Macintosh program called Logic at the time. It came with the Macintosh. It was kind of fantastic program. And there was also some great tutorial lessons you could do. So I started making that best of album just one lesson ahead of what I was doing. So if I had to record guitar, I'd had to learn the guitar lesson, how to record the guitar, and then how to get the vocals in there. I made it on this desk where I'm sitting now, actually. I had it all set up down here. And I was just one step ahead going, okay, getting through this song, getting through that song, learning how to program everything. And it actually turned out quite well. And I learned a whole lot, and it paid. It sort of, I get royalties from it, which I'm still getting royalties from it. It's so surprising.
I love your choice in the tracks on that. Some of my favorite new wave artists. So you picked Eurythmics, you picked Tears for Fears, you did Miss Visage, you did Favour to Your Old Friend, Midge Ure, and you had some craft work on there as well. So
yes. And it was my kind of influences and choices, and our first American tour was we did 32 shows with Eurythmics, so they were definitely going to be in there. And I see you got your Midge Ure t-shirt on. I missed out on a tour on a gig with Midge in October because of the whole stuff with Ukraine. The clubs in Germany aren't doing too well because of the power outages, and so I had a show with Midge, and I didn't get to do it. Damn.
Oh, that was planned for Germany, yeah. Okay, I do remember at the gig we came and saw you a couple of months ago. I think someone asked you about Midge, and you said you're going to see him in Germany at some point or other. Yeah,
well, we'd actually done a show in Germany with him a couple of years ago as well. There was I've got the same agent as him in Germany, and he does a show every year. So a couple of years ago, it was Midge Ure, Human League, and Propaganda, and Tom Bailey too from the Thompson Twins. So that was like, whoa, here's me with all these famous rock stars. I'm going, whoa, there's Midge Ure. But we'd also we toured with the Thompson Twins on their first tour all those years ago, and that was a lot of fun. Tom Bailey's a lovely man. As Alana Curry was a lovely person too. So I missed out there. Anyway, but stuff happens. But there was like 7 shows that we lost in Germany. There was 6 totally real life shows and 1 big show with Midge.
So you're out and about touring a bit these days. Well, you do the festival circuit. I do, because I follow you on social media and on all those 80s places. You did in 2019. I think it was called the Lost 80s Tour.
Oh yeah. Ooh.
And I saw that you were with Flock of Seagulls, Missing Persons, the Tubes, Wang Chung, although I don't think Hughes was on that tour. The Motels, one of my favourites, The Vapors with Dave Fenton.
Yes.
The Escape Club.
Yes.
Farrington and Mann, who Boys Don't Cry, and one of John's favourites, Trans-X, were on that. So,
of course, and Annabella Lewin too from Bow Wow Wow. So it was amazing.
What's it like when you get on those tours with all those 80s artists, your peers or whatever? What is it?
It's very affable, and it's very affable because we're all sort of getting on a bit. We've all survived our careers. We've survived the music business, and we can still get up and sing. And it was just lovely. It becomes like a family. I remember getting there. And getting a visa to go to America is not that easy. It was about $6,500 and 4 months of stress. And I didn't even have the visa until like 2 days before I left. So there's all this pressure. And I remember getting to America by myself because I had a band that I was picking up over there for the tour. And I remember just sitting down, waiting to get into my hotel with my head in my hands going, what am I doing here? Oh, it's going to be 6 long weeks. And by the end of it, it was this one big family, and I'd met all these wonderful people. You mentioned the Vapors; they're a great bunch of guys, and meeting Fee Waybill was like, whoa, for the Tubes, whoa, and Annabella. I was like a little fan backstage. I didn't know why they let me there. I'm just a fan of all these bands, and they're all just lovely.
You're a star in your own right, Dave. You're a star in your own right.
Thank you. I wish my friends would realize that.
You're a star in your own right. Too humble.
But yeah, it was great, and the venues were beautiful. We were playing Coney Island Stadium. It's like a whole lot of America has some fabulous stadiums. It's like a whole lot of Maya music bowls all over the place, and it was summer, and it was beautiful. So there's beautiful stadiums in Coney Island Stadium, the Aretha Franklin Stadium in Detroit. We played, but of course the big one was the second to last show. We played the Greek Theatre in Hollywood. It's like, oh wow! You walk into that place
Right.
and you just go, whew, wow, this is the Greek Theatre. And it was magic night.
You made it.
Yeah, well, I'm from Footscray, you know.
So the escape club were on that, and I think Trevor Steele, the 6 Degrees of Separation, he lived in Sydney for a while before he
A long time. And the other guy, John Holiday. John Holiday lives in Queensland, has for a long time. And they're a lovely bunch of guys. But Trevor, he managed some kind of teenage act for a while. He was in the management sort of side of the business here for a while, and he had this super hot band. I can't think of what they were called, but it was the huge teenage band for a while there. But yeah, do you know who it was?
No, I have seen an interview and he has talked about it. But I was genuinely surprised to find out that he lived in Australia for a long time, right under our noses.
He's trying to come back. Last I heard from him, he wants to come back. They're scattered all over the world. The drummer lives in Amsterdam. John Holiday, the guitar player, is in Queensland. The bass player is a really beautiful guy. John Cristoforo, he's a lovely, lovely man. Is still in London. I caught up with him for lunch a couple of years ago. But yeah, that was a great tour. You know, you really have these bonds with people. They're all just nice people, and it was such a great experience. It was beautiful.
The other thing I was going to ask, David, is Heartland. Like I had to buy my copy secondhand. So it leads to this question, right? So over the years, a lot of artists have been able to give themselves a second lease of life by re-releasing the material in new vinyl, digitally remastered. And I think next year, correct me if I'm wrong, is the 40th anniversary of Heartland.
You're right. That's right.
He hasn't thought about it. He hasn't thought
I
about
have
it.
a big think about that, didn't I?
Yeah.
What is,
Are we going to see a anniversary edition? Is it, do you have any sway in this? Like, do you own the rights to
I actually own the rights in Australia. I own the rights.
Okay.
But the manufacture of those things, I mean, vinyl costs a lot of money. I think I got 300 copies of Sirens in vinyl, but I had the best vinyl, 180 GSM, whatever it is, and a double fold cover and everything. And that was like $4,000 and 6 months. That was because of the pandemic, of course, but such a long turnaround with it. I'll never say never, but I've really got to think of, hey, am I really going to throw that much money at something only for a few people to buy it? Really, I don't know. I'd have to sort of put out some feelers, and I'm not against it, but we'll see.
Yeah, I often wondered, because obviously not the full real life catalog is available on the platforms, so you can't access the whole, and then you can't really find it the vinyl, in stores, despite all the re-releases. So I was genuinely curious to ask you this today about where we're at with that. Like, is it possible? Is it record company issues, all that kind of stuff?
No. So I sort of we were signed to Wheatley Records, and Glenn went bankrupt, and the company was liquidated, and the liquidators are liquidators, and they didn't know what to do. I mean, there's certain rights that they can't, sell off. A liquidator tries to sell off the assets of a company, but they couldn't, sell real life's copyright as well. So that took me a long time, but I got it turned around. And for Australia and New Zealand, I actually own it. But for the rest of the world, the American company still holds all the rights for it. So.
Okay.
Yeah. It's I could do it. It's a case of, do I have a spare, $4,000 or $5,000 or something, or to get it remastered or whatever. It'd be a big cost, But just for you, Sandro, maybe.
Well, there's the nostalgia market out there.
Yeah, it's audio. Come on.
Sorry.
The nostalgia market out there is pretty huge. Everyone.
Yeah. Yeah,
He's into
yeah,
the
I know.
vinyl.
Yeah,
So, and obviously,
yeah. I guess yeah. I'd have to see. I'd have to sell a lot of it overseas, and I was doing that with the Sirens album. And then when Brexit happened, it was just became impossibly hard to sort of pay the VAT and get licenses to sell stuff overseas. So that just sort of put the kibosh on that, and it'd be the same with Heartland too. I'd need to get a distributor to do it for me. So yeah, I'm not saying no at all, but it's not an amazing priority at the moment. Getting out and
okay.
getting some gigs is my priority. I want to get out and play.
Yeah. So is
What's
the
my question to you?
Yes.
Let Sandro keep going. I was just going to say, what are your gigs, Dave? What sort of gigs are coming up for us? And I'll put them on the website
Well,
and let them
there's
know.
only well, there's
I know we caught up.
only one at the
ago.
moment, and that's
Yeah, what's happening?
only one at the moment, and that's at Bird's Basement in Melbourne on February the 11th next year. Yeah, which is it's going to be funny because the last gig we played was in the afternoon. So, and this one's at night, and I don't know whether I'll be awake.
I know.
But,
Yes.
but I think it's a seated venue, though, isn't it? I think you can sit down there for the audience. I know I have to stand up, but
Yeah.
I'm worried about the audience. That that was the big selling point. It was a great afternoon at the Corner Hotel. I mean, you go there, it's daytime, and you leave
lovely.
there, and it's daytime. It feels like nighttime in the gig, and you get out and it's daytime, and you're home in time for a nice cup of tea and watch the news, and that's the way
you're speaking
life
my
should.
language. You're speaking my
Yeah.
language. I was trying to convince John of this. I said to him, I love these afternoon gigs. I said, it's the Sunday afternoon. Is perfect.
I said,
You head
are you
out.
sure it's in the afternoon?
Yeah.
No.
Well, I'd been to a couple of gigs. The Models were doing them, and I went to see Models a couple of times at the Corner. I went, this is great. It's the Corner Hotel. It feels like it's dark. It's just great. And you're out. It's all over by 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, and it still feels like a gig. It was good. So
Yeah, there's a venue here in the southern suburbs where we live. I think it's called Lucky 13, and they get people on really late. And sometimes, I think John and I went and saw the Australian Blondie show there. And by the time they came on for their second set at 11:30 or whatever it was, some of the older types like ourselves were heading to the exit door.
We were done.
back in the day, you never went on till after midnight. I don't know how we did it. It was God, too late.
Yeah. So touring is the number one thing you do. Your number one priority at the moment. Getting back out on the road.
Like so many of people of us people of the 80s and before that in the 70s, we're all getting a bit older, and we all realize how much we love what we do. And I guess we're just trying to get out there and play as much as we can while we can. There's a lot of when I used to do a couple of those, what are they called, Gold FM shows, where you'd have this huge lineup, and some of the bands have only about one original member or something left, and people have been getting sick, and so it's really a case of you just realize how much you love what you do, and you go, oh, I want to play, I want to get out and make a big noise. That's always been the basis for me. It's not about, I've never liked studios. I know I'm capable of writing good songs, but I don't love the process of it. It's hard work, but I do love the excitement of when the lights go down and there's the smoke machines, and you got the guitar and it's really loud, and people are telling you to turn down and shut up, and you go, no, I'm having fun. So I think it's a lot like that for a lot of people. I saw a documentary on YouTube about the problems that Little River Band have had with their name. Have you aware of all that?
Yeah.
It's just it's a tragedy, and they
In America?
they want to, yeah. But even here, I think they're not allowed to call themselves Little River Band.
Well,
And
as I
really
understand it,
get out and play.
As I understand it, 3 or 4 of the original members all sold their rights in the band to one particular member.
Yeah, they sold it accidentally. They didn't realize that they were doing that. Their manager said that they should sign this piece of paper, and they did.
Yeah, that sounds like the story of Eric Burdon and the Animals with the House of the Rising Sun, where Eric Burdon claims that The song was a traditional arrangement, but the organ piece, they were all involved. Manager just said, "I just put Alan Price's name on it," and
Oh,
they put Alan
oh,
Price's name, and so Alan Price is the one who got all the royalties.
oh, geez. Oh, that's that you can record something that's out of copyright and then claim for the arrangement. Wow, wow. I'd never heard that story, before, but wow, that's the one.
Yeah, so
Sandro's got some really good gossip, good intel there, Dave. For sure.
Well, the
he's got
music
some really
business
good
is
stuff.
very complicated. What people don't always realize is there's so much luck and timing involved with a lot of things, and just some incredible things that go wrong sometimes. Sometimes things go very right, and sometimes they just go horribly wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Does real life enable you to earn a living solely as a musician, or do you have other hustles like Sean Kelly does, where he scores commercials and all that sort of stuff?
No, I'm very lucky in that my publishing provides me with a modest but decent sort of a wage, and I live a very simple life. Everything I spend is on music equipment. So I'm don't have to go out and get a job, So that's a relief. It hasn't always been that way, There were some very rough times in the 90s and the early 2000s, but no, it just ticks along nicely now. People ask me, did I ever find the angel? Well, the song was the angel. It gave me a life, and it allowed me to travel, and it sort of pays my rent, and so it's good. Yeah, I'm fine. I know that it breaks my heart that some of our finest musicians and road crew people, with the whole pandemic, it's really cut short careers that should have gone on perhaps a little bit further. And when you realize that someone back to the story, one classic example was like Stevie Wright from the Easy Beats. He gave Australian music so much, and the poor guy, he'd been through hell with, drugs and mental health issues, and it's just that those things are a tragedy when you find out about those things. So I'm very glad when you about there's Support Act and Roadie for Roadies. They're great organisations now that are kind of trying to look after people that have fallen through the cracks and on hard times. They're great support, and thank God I don't need it.
Very good.
No, great. Indeed. What's next for you then, Dave? What can you tell us?
Oh, I wish I could say more. I wish I could say, look, we're on this gig and on that gig, and I wish. No, honestly, there's nothing. It's a boring life. I really do. There's just so far only one gig on the books. I'd love to get to Sydney or Brisbane or Adelaide or Perth or anywhere. It's not me not wanting to get out and play. It's just being able to get the right gigs, because it's expensive taking your band out on the road. You've got airfares and accommodation, and it's not as though we're packing out big places or anything. And we've got a beautiful boutique audience that I love very much. It's anyone who's played in real life, especially one of the keyboard guys that was at the Corner Hotel had been to Germany with me just before the pandemic hit. And there's something just beautiful about the audience that I get to have. They're just, they're not screaming at me like I'm a rock star, because I'm obviously not, but they appreciate the music, and it's not just the big hits. They love all the other songs as well. And it's very humbling. It really is. And I remember saying to one of the other keyboard player and the drummer, you're going to feel, experience something very nice and heartwarming at this gig, and they did. So I'd love to be just out there and gigs and playing gigs. It's hard getting on. I'd love to do some of the big gigs, the Red Hot Summer or something, but they're all booked out like 2 years in advance, and it seems to be pretty much the same people on those shows all the time as well. So I don't know.
I went and I actually saw you another time, 2000. Well, I've seen you a few times, but in 2017. Oh, no, it was 2016, right? It was that Lost 80s tour with Berlin. It was supposed to come out in January. And that was, I'm wondering if that's the kind of thing that we should be able to see more of, some iconic Australian dance new wave acts like yourself, maybe the Suits, whoever else, as part of acting in these larger audiences or in a day on the green type environment. I'm struggling to understand why some promoter hasn't done that. But I did see you on that tour as well, and I believe the real life bass player Alan Johnson. I think he got on stage with Berlin and played dancing in Berlin. So that was really good.
Yeah, that was a great tour. That was a lot of fun. Once again, a lot of really nice people. You thought you'd never meet. Lamar's a lovely guy, and there was Martika. What an amazing talent she is, and the late great wonderful Paul Gray. We're the only two Aussies that were on that tour. So, and
Yes.
yeah, Paul was a beautiful guy, and I miss him very much.
Yeah, good guy.
But yeah, I've sort of suggested that to a couple of people that because Australia is a very rock and roll country. You know, it's the Chisels and the Oils and the Angels, and I love those bands. They're all great. But there was, or there still is, a sort of an alternate side to the music business. There were the 80s bands that use synthesizers, and it'd be great if there was a tour like that as well. I'd love to be on it. I guess
There's a big one from Melbourne, mate. You know who it is, don't you, Dave? Come on. He's still rocking it out, isn't he? With the band.
Who's that? Sorry.
Pseudo, come on.
Oh yeah.
Pseudo, Brian.
Yeah. Well, I guess the Models, Machinations, Kids in the Kitchen. That'd be a great lineup. All those.
Yeah.
It's just getting someone to do it.
I don't have to ask you something that John's Ray pseudo echo.
How about you doing it for us? Come on, Dave. Put your heads together. Do it for us.
There's got to be providers.
Come on, Dave. Put it all together for us.
It's all breaking up. Everyone's talking. It's breaking up. I can't hear what anyone's saying.
Yeah.
Sorry. So I say again. What was you saying?
Go ahead, Sandra. Go on.
No, John. So you can go, and I was going to ask a separate question, but you go ahead first. Finish the tour.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Dave, maybe you should organise for us that lineup, and we can obviously see what we can get some promoters for you, and to push a nationwide sort of event.
That's if I had the skills, I would. But that's like you really start to appreciate the organisation that goes into all of those things when you've been part of one of the bigger things, and you go, well, you get to this big stage and great PA and great lights, and someone's organised all of that, and you've got to have a lot of experience. And it's kind of like I've got two hats. I can do my business hat thing, or I do my music hat, and I can't do both of them at once. So I'd be the last person that would be capable of doing that. But it would be good. I think there is a market for a tour that was that way orientated with all of those bands. Yeah.
What I was going to ask is, I've seen the Suits quite a number of times as well, and Brian seems to have made and the name for himself part of the encore. He always plays "Send Me an Angel." So I've often wanted to ask you, what's your opinion? What's your opinion of his version of "Send Me an Angel"? And how does it sit with you?
Well, strangely enough, I didn't realize how much a part of the set it was. Years ago, people kept saying, "Oh, look, Brian plays "Send Me an Angel," and I thought he just played it every now and then. And I thought, "Oh, that's okay." He's Brian's a fine musician, but I've had it just honestly shoved in my face lately, because he's been on tour, and then I didn't know that he'd actually recorded it a couple of times. And I don't know what to think about that. I mean, it's I'd rather kind of leave that one.
Okay, no, fair enough.
Sensitive issue by the sounds of things.
People kind of throwing it at me, and I'm sort of at home wishing I had a gig, and there's someone play someone else's song, he can play anything he wants, but why another active band? Why play the big hit of another active band? Is there any other bands that are doing that? Is Dragon playing Cold Chisel songs, or Chisel playing Dragon songs, or the Angels playing Guru's songs? Is anyone doing that to anybody else?
No.
I'll just
And that's why, like, when we started this conversation today, like I said, it's probably "Send Me an Angel" is the most iconic dance new wave Australian song out there.
100%.
Recognized anywhere you go. And so this is why, if we go full circle, I've noticed like last 5-10 years, every time I've seen the Suits, like it's always part of their encore. That's the number one song that comes out. So I was kind of curious because he always caveats it says, David's a friend of mine, yada yada kind of thing. So I always thought, curious what your opinion on it was. But thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Good.
All right. What about what's something about David that no one knows about you, David, you'd like to share with us?
Oh,
no one's ever asked you, and you thought,
yeah, that's it. I mean, I wish no one's ever asked me.
yeah. You thought, I'd love someone to ask me that question.
Yeah, no, I can't really think of one. I guess I've explained myself mostly over so many interviews, over so many years that, I've been lucky enough to have the good and bad sides of the music business thrown at me and survived it. And I actually went to a high school reunion. I went to Maribyrnong High School. It's not called that anymore. And it was a horrible place, and I hated every second of it. There was like 5 years of absolute misery. And I went out of the blue. On Facebook came this school reunion invite, and I thought, why would I go there and relive the worst years of my life with all these people? And but anyway, I did. I sort of went to this lunch, and I'm so glad I did. It was like, have you ever seen the TV series 7 Up, where they have the kids every 7 years or something? Well, it was none of us had really seen each other since we were teenagers in high school, really formative years. And it was just great. I realized that I wasn't the only person that struggled with school and hated every second of it. They all did. And it was just so nice talking to a lot of them. And, of course, no one expected me to get anywhere in life. I mean, my teachers told me to get an apprenticeship if I possibly could. And, so it was fun seeing people that had good lives after such a long time. It was like, not how are you? It was like, how was your life? For the last 40 years since I've seen them last. So yeah, that was really interesting. It was good. I'm glad I did that. Yeah. So
excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
I did have another question. You mentioned Germany before, and I have to ask you because I speak to I like Euro disco. I don't know if you're familiar, that new wave type of new Trans-X, Sandro mentioned earlier. A lot of that modern talking. I don't know if you're familiar with modern talking at all in Germany.
Yep.
So that's sort of my forte. And I wanted to ask you, what's the crowd like? You mentioned before they taken to you, they listen to all your tracks. I'm curious to know a little bit more about the German audience. If you can share with me a little bit about that, David.
Yeah, I guess, like I said, they're appreciative. They're quiet, and I felt like respect from them as well. That they were just very appreciative. That every time I've gone there, even from the early days, I remember the first time we went there. We'd just been on this huge tour of America with the Eurythmics. Then we went through Canada on our own. Then we came down the East Coast again with Berlin, and then we'd had the #1 record in Germany for like about 3 weeks or something by then. So we went there for the first time, and it was just a real shock, especially seeing my dad was in World War II, and the dads of the fans have probably been in World War II as well, and like just in the space of a generation, here's an Australian band at #1 on the German charts, and they were just such lovely people. They were just the best record company we ever had was the German record company. And, it was just an amazing place to be there and just sort of feel very much appreciated by the people. It wasn't just like stupid, silly fan worship or anything. It was just real lovely respect. And we were staying in a hotel in Cologne. and there were just people camped outside, and we were so worried about them that we kind of said, look, okay, we'll come and have coffee with us. We'll go all these people to a restaurant. We'll have coffee. We bought coffee for everyone and said, no, will you please go home? And we went back to the hotel, but no, they're still out there waiting outside. So it was a really funny experience like that. And now I guess they've all gotten older and they bring their kids to the shows, and their kids have grown up listening to the 80s music of the time and everything. But of course, with Germany, did you ever see Kraftwerk? Have you seen Kraftwerk live?
Oh, I would love to have seen Kraftwerk, but unfortunately,
Yes, a little bit.
I've seen them twice that they were here, and it's such you wouldn't imagine, but it's a very emotional show that is just big, powerful synthesizers. It's absolutely beautiful. The first time I saw them was at the Comedy Theatre in Melbourne, and they had their studio on stage, and they had the robots and the pocket calculators. Yeah. It was magic, visually and sound-wise, absolutely magic. And then the next favorite thing for me from Germany was Propaganda, who I get to do shows with every now and then, and the girls. Well, I was sort of a bit in love with them back in the 80s, I think, but they were a bit scary. But I remember we met them on the first time over there. It was my birthday, and I think it was Claudia Brooken came up and said, "Happy birthday, David." And I went, "Oh, Claudia," and then there was a tour we did in America, I think 2000 or something, where Claudia Brooken was briefly married. I was for a while married to Paul Humphreys. Paul Humphreys from Orchestral Maneuvers, and we were doing a show together with this Berlin and Paul Humphreys' version of Orchestral Maneuvers with Claudia singing, and I didn't know that Claudia was going to be there, and we pulled up in our van and with our promoter, and he said, "Look, I'm just going to race up and say hello to Paul and Claudia." And I went, "Claudia who?" And he went, "Claudia Brooken." And he said, "Come up." And I went, No. I'm too scared to meet her. And I want to, no. I idolize her too much. I'm too scared. And the next thing, I'm sort of leaning down in the van, there's this bang, bang, bang on the door, and it's Claudia Brooken. It's like, lovely. But they've got a great new record out too with Steve Lipson, who produced their first album. Has produced it. It's just the two girls. I think they're called I forget this. They're not allowed to call themselves Propaganda. They're called, Ex-Propaganda. That's right. It's
that's right. It's Ex-Propaganda. I've heard an interview with
that's good. It's Steve Lipson who worked with Trevor Horn on their first album, who did that. So yeah, we always just want to make some more music and get out and play. That's what we want to do.
And we want to see you out on the road, David, doing more summer shows, not just in Germany and Europe. We want to see you around in the suburbs of Melbourne and getting around.
Oh, look, I'd love to. Oh, there's so many. I don't know how to get on them. I wish there was some summer shows that I could say, yeah, we're on that. But even like for next year, it's like they're all pretty much booked out already. 2023 is booked out, and you just go, I don't know what to do. I'm very grateful for the work that I get. The German tour that I lost last year has been rebooked to next year, so I'll be going there for sure. So that's all there is. I wish I had better, more exciting, wonderful news, but I don't.
Okay.
What about any other European countries? Are you exposed in any other countries other than Germany?
Yeah, well, because
I'm curious to know.
But we've never toured other countries that much. We always did TV shows in Italy and Austria and Spain and France. But because that was back in the day, Germany was like the biggest pop market in Europe. So if you had Germany, you had all of Europe. You had it sort of branched out into everywhere else as well. So yeah, it was great fun back in the day. I saw the world thanks to Real Life. It was so. I'd always wanted to travel when I was young, and I'd never been anywhere. And so all of a sudden, we find ourselves in Paris and Italy, in Spain with a hit record. And you get treated like a rock star. All the drinks free, and what a way to see the world. Everyone should have a number one record and see how it feels. So it's good. Yeah.
Yeah. one for me here. I was often wondered, do you get many requests to use Send Me an Angel for ads or movies?
It's always in movies and TV shows. It's always, there's, God, there's so many. I couldn't possibly count them. I mean, just a couple of months ago, it was on, what's that American TV show with Jimmy Fallon? Is it with
The Tonight Show.
Yeah, it was in a movie called Rad a million years ago, and
I heard in that. Yes.
and then Brad Pitt puts on a helmet and does this bicycle. A stuntman does a bicycle stunt, but they're playing "Send Me an Angel." It's in so many films. It was in a movie called Rad that was the BMX bike movie that was just mentioned before. Teen Wolf 2. Loads of movies, loads of TV shows. There was the Righteous Gemstones, I think, is a TV show. It was just in earlier this year, American TV show. So it's always in lots. But as far as commercials go, no. There's always some idiot that wants to use it. The song is "Send Me an Email" or something. And you go, nah. So, one of my favorite versions though was the Underbelly TV series here, and it was Underbelly Razor, which was about the razor cutthroat gangs in Sydney during the time after the First World War. After the First World War, where when the Sydney Harbour Bridge was being built, and there's two rival women. It's all true. This story. One ran an illegal drinking establishment, and the other one ran a brothel in Sydney. And it's just about their battles over the years. Just amazing stories. But the soundtrack was 1920s versions of 80s songs, and that was really cool. So in the very last episode, where one of the women's businesses just gone down the gurgler, and the other one's opening a brand new strip club in Sydney, in King's Cross, and so in the old bar, the rundown bar, there's this bedraggled woman starts singing "Send Me an Angel," a sort of a 1920s-ish piano version, and then it cuts to the other woman's new club, and the door bursts open, and there's all these scantily clad ladies, and Jessica Mauboy is singing it in this club. So that was a real thrill. That was really fabulous. Yeah. But there's also covers of it. There's so many covers, from death metal to heavy metal to punk. Even the Gregorian monks have a version of "Send Me an Angel," which is pretty funny. And I reckon you haven't made it in the music business until the Gregorian monks do your song.
Wow.
Amazing.
Wow.
Well, David, we're running out of time. I just want to you've given us 50 minutes of your time. Is there anything you want to finish off with at all that you want to
not really, just
mention to us or to the people?
Please, I just want to thank you guys for your support, and thank everybody else that gets in touch via Facebook. I know people would like us to play more. We're doing everything we can. I'd love to just get out and play. It's my main ambition is to get more gigs in Australia. The thought of having to go all the way to America or to Germany, sometimes you go, can't I just go and play here? It'd be great. And I love the pub scene. I love playing big concerts, little gigs, anywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if anyone's looking for us, it's always on, any information is just always on Facebook.
And I can vouch, David.
Sorry?
I can vouch. You sound awesome. I can vouch. We went to see you only a couple of months ago.
Thank you. Thank you.
Friggin' awesome. And Sandro can
with
me.
Yeah.
So if you do, fabulous.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a great gig, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
It was a great day. I enjoyed it too. It was a lot of fun, and it was just 5 o'clock when I got home. It was good.
Yeah.
I even stayed up and had a couple of drinks before.
All right, mate. Look.
All right, guys.
Well, I'm going to go grab one now. I'm going to have a couple of drinks now after this. So
all right.
Thanks again for your time, David.
Thank you very much, guys.
It's been a pleasure.
Cheerio.
Bye-bye.
See you again.
Love ya.
See ya.
Bye.
See you, mate.